Hi everyone! For Inktober, I decided to treat myself with a set of Bombay inks. It's more like a sample set. They're really small bottles, and it's the set number 2 because the colors appeal to me a lot. So those inks are India inks, and as you can see on the label, they can be used watered down as watercolors, with calligraphy pens, with airbrushes, in technical pens. You can use them for illustrations and designing. They're lightfast and archival, waterproof. They have fine art pigments. They're acid-free and non-toxic. So it really appealed to me for all that because they seem to be very good quality. On top of that, I've only heard good things about them. So I decided to go for it, and I used a few of them for my Inktober drawings, and I really enjoyed them. So right away I decided to order the set number 1 as well to have a larger range of colors. Because I had ordered them separately, I didn't swatch them at the same time. So I first swatched the set number 2 that I got, and I realized that the pigments settle at the bottom, so they're lying down in their box. So I had to shake all those little bottles before I use them. The problem with that is if you don't wait long enough, there's lots of bubbles, and it's not fun to dip your brush in it. So if you really enjoy those inks, it's probably better to get the bigger bottles because they have an eyedropper, and so you can just dip the eyedropper in the bottle and put the ink on your palette. But that's just a detail. So the boxes both came with a little paper that shows you, it's like a step-by-step to do a couple of paintings. They're really pretty, but they're the same for both sets. And also the box they come in, it's pretty neat. However, the plastic cover doesn't stay in place. In other words, it doesn't snap, so it just comes off very easily. So I don't think they're very good storage boxes. So I swatched them all, and I really liked the range of colors that came. There's also a black and a white. I tried the opacity of the white. It seems to work pretty well with the other inks, but when I tried it on a black paper, it kind of sunk in. So I don't know if it would be nice to play with it on black paper or not. After my swatches, I had to try them out. Well, I had already tried them out during Inktober, but I wanted to do a painting on the opposite page in my sketchbook. So I decided to use a reference photo that I got from Pixabay that I've had for quite a while. There's a bunch of gummy bears lined up, and they have all different colors, which was nice so that I was able to test out quite a few colors from both sets. The first 2 gummy bears that I painted were really a test. I had no idea. I jumped right in. I didn't plan ahead, and I really didn't know how I was going to do that. So I was not super happy with them, but they were good practice, and you will see that as I keep on going and paint the next one and then the next one, I'm getting better at it. And later on, the darker one, the dark red, is pretty nice. I think it's my favorite. Now, I did that in several days. I didn't have time to do it all in one day, and then I came across a little cardboard box that was the perfect size. I decided to put all my ink bottles in it, and it fit perfectly. I removed the stickers from the original box, and then I stuck it on this cardboard box. That way I know what's inside, and I know that I have both sets. But now back to the painting. Because of my poor planning of my first 2 gummy bears, I tried to be more careful with the other ones. And the first thing that I did was to use some masking fluid to cover all the highlights. And after that, I was able to use the lighter color of each gummy bear and cover it all up with the ink, and then paint the shadows with a darker color. For the highlights around the gummy bears, I was not sure what to do, and I ended up mixing my main color with the white, which is a little opaque, and it kind of worked. But at some point I decided that I was probably going to turn this piece into a mixed media piece and probably add colored pencils, which I ended up doing. So I started by using some Prismacolor Premier pencils, and they didn't work very well. I think the ink was too slippery, I guess. It's hard to describe. They have a shine to them. It's not very, very shiny, but I think it prevents the wax from the pencil from gripping onto the paper. So I decided to try instead my Caran d'Ache Pablo pencils, which are oil-based, and the tip is harder, and they worked really well. So I used that. I tried to define the shadows a bit more. Because I'm using watercolor cold press paper, there's a lot of grain on the paper, and I didn't like the texture that the pencils were giving me, because the gummy bears are supposed to be very smooth. So I used some Odorless mineral spirit, and I blended the pencils together, which was really nice. So I did that for all the gummy bears, and then I went over them one more time with the original color that I used from the inks, just to make them pop a little bit. And finally I used my white Kuretake brush pen to go over the highlights a little bit. What I did with that also is emphasize the highlights around the bears, and I would put a bit of the white from the pen and smooth it out with my finger, kind of spread it with my finger so that it wouldn't be too white and we could see the color show through, which is exactly what I could see on the reference photo. So this was a really nice learning experience because I just jumped into it and I didn't really plan ahead, and I don't like when I do that because then it doesn't end up the way I want it to be. So I'm glad I had several bears to practice on, and I ended up knowing exactly what to do for the last ones. I really like those inks. The colors are beautiful. I like that they are waterproof and that when they're dry, you cannot move them anymore, and that you can still dilute them with water and have some watercolor effects. So it's basically kind of like using watercolors, but when you add more layers, the previous layer that you already put on the paper is not moving, so it's nice to build layers on top. I'm definitely going to use these again. I'm glad that I did get the 2 packs of the small bottles because it does go a long way. They're very nicely pigmented, and if you dilute them on top of that, then yeah, really a little goes a long way. The only thing that I don't like with those bottles is that there is no eyedropper, but it's understandable because they're so small. So I'll have to plan ahead when I use them, shake them all before I use them, and make sure that I let the bubble settle before I use them. So that's my little review of those beautiful Bombay inks. Have you guys tried them before? How do you like them? How do you use them? Do you use them like watercolors, or do you use them just with dip pens or just brushes? Let me know how you use them. I like to hear about other ways to use my inks. So if you like this video, remember to give it a thumbs up, and if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you soon with another video. Have a wonderful day. Bye bye.